what's up? This is Uncle Jay here. I can be speaking to you about anything in the world, but today I'm going to be speaking to you about the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix scheduled for the 18th of June 2011. This for me is a very exciting event because it's going to basically showcase two heavyweights that are in the tournament, and four heavyweights that are in the tournament, and it's going to determine who else progresses on, along with Bigfoot Silva and obviously the German that destroyed Arlovsky. I can't remember his I can't pronounce his name. I'm not even going to try. Anyway, there are actually three fights on this card that I'm really excited about. Obviously, I'm interested in all the other fights, but I'm going to talk about the three fights that I'm really excited about. The first fight I'm going to talk about is going to be basically Fedor Emelianenko versus Henderson. Not Ben Henderson. Henderson. Hendo. You know who I'm talking about. The guy that knocked out Michael Bisping. Anyway. Fedor versus Henderson. This is a very interesting matchup. Let's first take a look at Fedor. Fedor was basically that heavyweight figure that was indestructible, invincible, and just, put on a pedestal. Then Werdum basically submitted him, which I think was really... Obviously, I'm not taking anything away from Werdum. He won the fight. Submissions is part of mixed martial arts. If you get submitted, you've lost. But there was, the way he won the fight didn't make me think Verdum was the better fighter. It just made me think Fedor made a mistake. So for me personally, it didn't really mean anything to me. Fedor's very humble. He always acknowledged the fact that he could lose, and he made a mistake and he got submitted. And let's face it, Verdum is a BJJ black belt and a very good jiu-jitsu black belt. So Fedor make a mistake, Verdum capitalizing on the mistake. Yeah, it could happen to anyone. However, like I said earlier on, it didn't make me think that Verdum was the better fighter. I think if Fedor and Verdum were to fight 5 times, Fedor will win more times than Verdum would win. And I'm talking about maybe, let's consider Verdum won once. I'll say 4 times out of 5, I think Fedor would win. But then he lost to Bigfoot Silva. Now again, I am a fan of Fedor, but I am talking objectively. In that fight, I think Fedor did very well. I think the fact is that Bigfoot Silva was too big for him. So that for me was just the only reason why I felt Bigfoot was able to defeat Fedor. I think if they were the same size, I think Fedor would have dominated him. Plus, there are many that believe that if they had let that fight go another round, we still don't know what would have happened. However, I acknowledge the argument that that's just rubbish, that they're both in the same weight class. If he can't handle big heavyweights, then he shouldn't be fighting at heavyweights. So, yeah, I can see that. I can see the argument for that. So, it's one of those situations where either Fedor doesn't fight at heavyweights, or you just accept that he can't hang with the big boys. Alright, let's look at Henderson. Henderson has been successful. He beat a really tough opponent to get the Strikeforce light heavyweight championship. And over the years, he's proven himself to be a pretty decent fighter. But having said that, has he done anything in his career that would make anyone think he can beat Fedor? Yes and no. I mean, he's proven to be pretty powerful, pretty resilient, all-rounder, as in he can handle himself on the floor and on the feet. However, I just think Fedor is too much for Henderson. I just don't think Henderson has what it takes to beat Fedor. And what even makes this fight more dangerous for Henderson is that he's looking at Fedor's past 2 fights and thinking, I can get in there and have a piece of him, which I don't think is going to happen. I think Fedor's going to win pretty convincingly. In fact, I would even go out on the limb to say he's going to win either by knockout or submission. We'll see. We'll have to see whether I'm right or wrong. Next fight I want to talk about is Josh Barnett versus Brett Rogers. Let's start with Brett Rogers. Brett Rogers is, you know, a big heavyweight who can strike. He's not the kind of person you want to stand up with, simply because if he catches you, game over. Brett Rogers can knock any heavyweight out in existence. That is a human being. He can knock anyone out. However, he's not a well-rounded mixed martial artist. He's not. Josh Barnett, on the other hand, can strike. We've seen him strike with dangerous opponents, sometimes at his own detriment. But bottom line is he can strike. And he can wrestle. And his jiu-jitsu is top-notch. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So, just looking at the stats, you have to go with Josh Barnett. But not even just with the stats. I just think, as fighters, just taking that whole everything they have and just meshing it together, I just think Josh Barnett is the better fighter. And I think Josh Barnett will dominate Brett Rogers. I think Brett Rogers has a puncher's chance, but that's it. I mean, it's a fight, anything could happen. He could catch Josh Barnett. Josh Barnett could get all proud and try and stand with him and open himself up to that mistake. But I just feel Josh Barnett's going to dominate Brett Rogers. I don't think Brett Rogers has a chance, really. Last, but certainly not the least, Verdu versus Alistair Overeem. This is a very interesting fight because you have Verdu, whose striking is average. You can't say it's rubbish. You can't say Verdu's striking is rubbish. You just have to look at the Bigfoot Silver fight to understand that. Obviously, his jiu-jitsu is top-notch. And he has a psychological edge because he has beaten Overeem before. However, Overeem is one of those fighters. Who can I put in the same category as him? Maybe people like Kenny Florian. Who else? Who else can I think off the top of my head? BJ Penn. Even George St. Pierre. You know, those fighters that have grown as a result of their losses. And Alistair Overeem is definitely one of those fighters. In fact, he's in that category, he's the top fighter who has learned from his losses. If you check his record, you'll find that he has 11 losses. And he's one of those fighters that he definitely takes it in his stride and keeps developing as a result. And 5 years on from when he fought Verdu, he's a different fighter. He's improved in his stand-up to the point that he's the Dream Champion and the K1 Champion, as well as the Strikeforce MMA Champion, Heavyweight Champion. His ground game is definitely serious. It's not top-notch, but it's serious. It's enough to negate any, jiu-jitsu game, black belt or not. And apart from that, he's clever and experienced. And that's a deadly combination. Some people are experienced but they're not clever, and some people are clever but they're not experienced. He's both. And he just has this very professional and realistic approach to how he handles his fights. And because of this, I just can't see Verdu beating Overeem. Obviously, he could get him in a submission. I mean, again, and it's a fight, anything is possible. But again, when you mesh all the elements, all the aspects of both fighters together, I just think Overeem is the better fighter. I just think he's going to overwhelm Verdu. It will be a somewhat competitive fight, but I see Overeem dominating Fabricio. And I see Fabricio getting either knocked out. Yeah, let's say knocked out. I see Fabricio getting knocked out, yeah. Alright, before I end this video, I'm just going to leave you with a scripture, which is from Romans 14 verse 13. And it's basically a scripture that encourages us not to judge one another, but basically support one another. So rather than looking down on someone because they're lacking in whatever way, be it physically, emotionally, financially, whatever, actually go out of your way to be a support system to them in any way that you can, even if it's just by praying for them. Alright, that's me, Uncle Jay, with my first of many prediction videos. Let me know what you think. Give me your opinions, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. You can also talk about the fights that I haven't mentioned. And yeah, subscribe and add me as a friend. Take care. Peace.